In a woke-dominated West, one leader is saying no.
No migration, no gender, no war.
Right now, I'm in Budapest, the capital of Hungary, and that was Prime Minister Viktor Orban. This spring, conservative leaders and thinkers from across the West came here to see a government that says no.
It's the first country who has a conservative government who also managed to change the society.
What Orban is doing is real conservative politics.
It took Orban to just stand up and say no.
I think it's a good thing for us to study the successes abroad and bring them back home.
Hungary is the place where they didn't only talk about defeating progressive liberals and a conservative Christian political pivot, but they actually did it.
In Hungary, we see strong borders, strong families, and strong policies that are putting Hungarians first. And I want to emulate those policies in the United States by putting Americans first.
What it took was some leadership. It took Orban to just stand up and say, I'm going to be skeptical of this idea that Brussels can dictate our domestic policies.
Even the far-left American Senator Bernie Sanders has a reaction to this interest.
For right-wing Republicans to look at an anti-democratic leader in Hungary as some kind of model is rather extraordinary and terribly unfortunate.
Orban has been elected 4 consecutive times since 2010. How can this be undemocratic? In 2015, Hungary made international headlines when they said no to migrants trying to cross their borders. The left was outraged, and Orban sent a clear Hungary first message. He says that migration policy stems from the woke mind virus, and that
This virus is attacking the most vulnerable point of the Western world, the nation.
according to Orban, the solution is to oppose woke politics, grow families, and secure sovereignty. To champion the nation. Are Hungarians surprised that their small country is taking a stand?
I don't find surprising. We had that luxury of 40 years communism. So when the communism rise again in the West, we can smell it.
Hungary was occupied by the Soviet Union for 40 years. In 1956, they staged a failed rebellion. That experience heightened their national consciousness and vigilance of totalitarian ideology.
Now, progressives are the ones who want to convince us constantly and tirelessly that this ideology is the only acceptable standard, that there is no alternative. And do you know where it became a dogma that only one path, one ideology, one method is acceptable? Yes, when it comes to a totalitarian system.
In light of their past experience, do Hungarians advocate for a weak state?
They actually argue for a strong state, but in which sense? A strong state which can guarantee freedoms for the citizens, for each individual, and to guarantee this freedom in face of large corporations, but also in face of political pressure groups.
As most of Europe continues to see population decline, Orban has used the power of the state to promote family formation.
The birth rate in Hungary is on its way up. The trend is going in the right direction, and that's due to the kinds of investment that the government has made here and that the Hungarian people overwhelmingly support. There are a lot of explicit, specific policy efforts that the Hungarians have undertaken that we could do in the United States. For example, when a woman has 4 children, she never again pays income tax in Hungary. That's a remarkable policy. It's simple. It's easy to understand. Having children, fewer taxes.
Progressives' latest imperial foreign policy objective is to strip EU member states of the right of their own foreign policy. We have to stop them.
Hungary has been criticized for their neutral foreign policy regarding the Russia-Ukraine war. In their understanding, NATO is a defensive pact, not an offensive one. And joining the European Union did not mean giving up their sovereignty in foreign affairs. If the purpose of conservatism is to conserve, then why don't other right-wing parties in the West govern this way?
There are also conservatives, but a lot of rhinos. Yeah, I was told you named it rhinos, Republicans in name only. We have the same problem in Europe that a lot of conservatives are conservatives in name only, but it's more comfortable for them to be in coalition with left parties.
One even declared that
American conservatism is sadly dead. And we should not cry about the failure of this ideology because it conserved nothing.
It is time for a new generation to take the mantle and orient our ingenuity towards the unified goal of bringing about an American national renewal in the same way Prime Minister Viktor Orban is leading a Hungarian national renewal.
Back in America, there is a debate among conservatives questioning the utility of this interest in Hungary.
It, to me, is just so bizarre. And the mistake is that they're embracing a sort of Eastern European populism that is fundamentally un-American. Okay, we are Americans, we're whether you like it or not, we're grounded in liberalism. These are illiberal countries. They certainly don't believe in political pluralism, not the way we do. So the idea that we're aspiring to be Orban is just like, maybe you could help me understand.
Orbanism is the manifestation going on in Hungary of them defending their civilization. Americanism will be the manifestation of America defending civilization. They've got a lot of pro-natal, pro-family policies,
right,
and we'll have to have that as well, because I think a lot of American decline can be seen in the household.
I'm sorry, but Congress could not legislate anything that's going to make families come together. And the president can't do it either. It's got to come from within. And
I agree.
How do I make? I mean, I can't make it happen. But how do you make it happen? I don't know.
Populist conservatives would argue that "I don't know" isn't going to hold the line against a wokeism that wants to remake the West. Trump and Brexit were populist phenomenon that were checked by recalcitrant establishments. In Hungary, we see a populist government that has had a chance to govern, a chance to say no. And what is good for Hungary just might be good for the rest of the West. I'm Ian McMath in New York.